Hello everyone, my name is Raj, and today I would like to talk to you about generative AI and various opportunities and perils it presents as this new technology expands in its applications. Generative AI is a rapidly changing technology that presents many opportunities, but also a few threats that need to be addressed effectively. The first threat, generative AI, and perhaps the most popular threat generative AI poses in today's world is the risk of deepfakes. And I would like to also talk about how and what kind of approaches we can take in addressing this risk of deepfakes, both from a technological perspective, but also from a regulatory and ethical perspective. And there are other technologies that we can use to combat deepfakes, such as blockchain technologies. We can also spend some time on that. Finally, I would like to talk about the importance of collaborative efforts and industry initiatives that need to take place to effectively battle the threat of deepfakes. And then we can do Q&A towards the end. The concept of generative AI can be better understood by contrasting it with the more traditional form of machine learning, also known as discriminative AI. The goal of discriminative AI is to utilize training data that comes with both observations and the corresponding labels. And the output expected from discriminative AI is to look at test data which only has inputs and then assign labels to it or output to it. Whereas in generative AI, the goal really is to look at data that doesn't really have any labels and then understand the distribution of this data so that the model can then generate instances of the same data coming from the same distribution. When applied to different application domains like image generation or speech generation, it would appear as though the model is creating entirely new forms of content. So there are a couple of different models that are widely used when it comes to generative AI. The most popular ones are generative adversarial networks and also the autoregressive models that the popular GPT models use to create content like this. These models consume vast amounts of unlabeled data that is typically pulled from public sources and then create models that generate content that looks normal. As we have seen in recent years, generative AI has a wide range of applications and it is still expanding into many more exciting areas of application. I would just like to briefly touch upon a few of those examples. For example, in the field of creativity and entertainment, we are already seeing the applications of generative AI in the form of computer graphics and movies, but also in the form of novel characters in video games, etc. And in the field of healthcare, generative AI plays a huge role in creation of synthetic training data. For example, in applications in radiology, these algorithms that are used to detect tumors, etc., by looking at X-rays, they need a large amount of data to be able to predict the presence of a tumor, for example, with a high degree of precision. But typically in these domains, the training data is very limited that is coming from the real world. So in these application domains, we can use generative AI to generate higher volumes of training data that would increase the precision of these predictive models. And finally, in the field of scientific research, there are quite a few applications of generative AI. For example, there are applications in the area of protein modeling that we can use to create protein molecules that are more and more novel and have a wide range of applications. And also, generative AI is constantly improving and is currently being used in drug design to decide to model various forms of drugs that typically take years and years to develop in the absence of these applications. Overall, the key takeaway in the form of generative AI applications is that we have a wide scope for these applications and they expand the frontiers of creativity and scientific research by enabling innovations that were previously not really possible. Now, I would like to focus our attention on some of the negative aspects of generative AI, particularly the problem of deepfakes. So the definition of a deepfake is when a machine learning model, such as a generative AI model, is used to create content that appears to be real and hence facilitates impersonation. So this can take many forms. There have been some high-profile cases of generative AI models impersonating celebrities without their permission, but it just doesn't stop there. There are situations where, for example, someone could create a voice that sounds like they're calling from your bank account, from your bank, for example, and they could steal your bank account information. And there are other problems too, such as reputational damage. These models could be used to impersonate a celebrity and make the model say things that the celebrity would never normally say. And this can further be used to spread misinformation and make statements that would be attached some kind of credibility because this was said by a certain person. So all these are challenges that need to be addressed by various approaches that we're going to talk about next. The threats posed by deepfakes are actually manifold and affect a wide array of people. So the first and the most important threat is misinformation and public manipulation. So what this means is that when generative AI models create content and spread them on, for example, social media, this false information spreads very rapidly because of the apparent authenticity that is attached to this information because the content generated is so real. And then this type of information can also be used for malicious purposes such as blackmail. For example, someone could create a video of someone doing something compromising, and they could use this content to then blackmail them, and they could also commit fraud. For example, someone could create a content like a voice content or video content that they can then use in situations such as video conferences to convince the counterparts to do something on behalf of the person who they are trying to impersonate. And all these forms of applications are ultimately bound to erode trust in our systems. So as deepfakes become more and more convincing, they basically undermine the credibility of the new media, and they really make it difficult to trust what is real and what is created by these models. Fortunately, we have a wide area of approaches and technologies that we can use to combat the problem of deepfakes. First of all, we have detection algorithms that use similar models such as deep learning models that are designed to identify manipulated media by analyzing inconsistencies in facial expression, blinking patterns, lighting, etc. But there are also other multi-model approaches that combine the content produced by generative AI by combining, for example, audio and video data to enhance the detection accuracy of deepfakes. And finally, we can create comprehensive data sets using generative AI. For example, we can create real and synthetic media, and we can use this generated media to then train detection algorithms for more robust and statistically generalizable models. But technological approaches are only one piece of the puzzle. In order to effectively combat deepfakes, we need participation from a wide array of stakeholders. From one hand, we are going to need regulatory frameworks that establish what we can and cannot do with deepfakes. So, for example, this could take the form of implementing laws to deter the creation and dissemination of deepfakes. In fact, there are already some jurisdictions and states in the US that have laws in place that already define what can and cannot be done using these models. And then there are industry participants who need to take an active role in establishing ethical guidelines for responsible AI use. So this could take the form of developing guidelines for using these technologies and developing interfaces and protocols that can be used voluntarily or by various companies that are developing these technologies to limit their usage only to ethical purposes. And finally, public awareness is a big piece of this entire approach. Media literacy, which could take the form of educating the media organizations to effectively decide which content is generated by models and which content is real, so that they don't publish content that is not really generated by real people. Educating the public on the dangers of deepfakes and really promoting critical thinking is also an approach that media organizations can take to make sure that the users are not convinced by this type of fake content. One exciting technology that is upcoming to combat the problem of deepfakes is blockchain. So blockchain technology can be a powerful tool in the fight against deepfakes. There are some of the ways that blockchain can be used to combat deepfakes is by, for example, content verification. So blockchain can create a digital fingerprint for each piece of content, which is then stored on the blockchain. So this allows anyone to verify the authenticity of the content by comparing it to a stored hash. So there are other approaches such as provenance tracking, where by recording the origin and history of digital content on a blockchain, it becomes easier to trace back to the original source. So this helps in identifying and verifying legitimate content while flagging manipulated or fake media. And then we have the approach of decentralized trust. So blockchain's decentralized nature means that no single entity controls the verification process. This reduces the risk of tampering and ensures that the verification process is transparent and trustworthy. Finally, we have incentivizing accuracy using blockchain. So what we can do is blockchain can be used to financially incentivize the creation and distribution of accurate and verified content. This can help promote the spread of genuine information and reduce the prevalence of deepfakes. Finally, we have real-time verification. So some companies are developing blockchain-based solutions that can verify the authenticity of videos and images in real time, providing immediate feedback on whether the content has been manipulated. So one or more of these approaches can be used to effectively combat deepfakes while using the blockchain technology. Ultimately, combating deepfakes requires a collaborative effort across various sectors. For example, one form it could take is standardized frameworks. For example, tech companies can adopt common frameworks for identifying and responding to deepfakes. Major companies like Microsoft, Meta, etc. that are developing all these models, they have already signed accords to fight election-related deepfakes. And then content verification tools are being developed and shared across the industry to combat deepfakes. These tools can be integrated into social media platforms, news outlets, and other digital content providers to flag and remove fake content quickly. And another main aspect of this approach is public awareness campaigns. Educating the public about the dangers of deepfakes and how to spot them is very crucial. This can be done through partnerships with educational institutions, media organizations, and governmental agencies. Finally, as we talked about the legislation and policy approach, governments can work with tech companies to create laws and policies that penalize the creation and distribution of malicious deepfakes. This includes setting up regulatory bodies to oversee compliance. And finally, from a technological point of view, research and development plays a big role. So continuous investment in R&D to stay ahead of deepfake technology is essential. Collaborative research initiatives can develop more sophisticated detection methods and preventive measures. Finally, from a societal point of view, we can have fact-checking partnerships. Establishing these partnerships with fact-checking organizations can help verify the authenticity of content and flag potential deepfakes. So by combining all these efforts, the industry can create a robust defense against the spread of deepfakes and protect the integrity of digital content. In conclusion, generative AI is a powerful and emerging technology with the capacity to transform a wide range of industries. However, like any innovative tool, it comes with significant challenges, particularly in the area of deepfakes. These AI-created fake videos and audio can potentially spread misinformation, harm reputations, and undermine trust in media. Tackling these issues requires a collaborative effort from technologists, policymakers, educators, and the public. The dual nature of generative AI means that while it can fuel remarkable innovation and efficiency, it also necessitates careful oversight and ethical considerations to prevent its misuse.